Hello again, dwellers of the internet. This is Plat Skull. Welcome back to the channel. This is going to be another raid boss run through. This time we're doing Vosik, stepping away from the King's Fall content, moving on now to Rise of Iron. This is the first raid boss that you're going to encounter, and for challenge mode for him, you are going to want to face him and defeat him just like the standard heroic mode would have you do it, alternating between bomb throwing phases whilst killing ads and the destruction of monitor phases. After you hopefully simultaneously have thrown the bombs enough rounds to take down his shield completely and the damage cycle begins, the goal of challenge mode, the requirements for it, are for you to then pick up one of the extra damage bombs that falls during the DPS cycle. You need to have 2 designated people acquire one of these bombs each and head to the 2 rooms that end up lighting up for you and your team to take refuge in. The requirement for challenge mode is that you cannot shoot the locks that spring the doors closed for safety from Vosik's wipe wave. You have to take the bombs that are allotted to you during the DPS cycle and launch them at the locks in order for this to qualify as a challenge completion. So, one of these people is going to head to one room, the other one is going to head to the other room, and it is imperative that you stop doing DPS a little bit before he launches his God Wave so that you have enough time. I would recommend to run into the room for safety, because once the bomb throwers get there, they are going to need everybody to get to safety with them as well. Once you have activated these 2 rooms and the DPS cycle is concluded and you basically go back to your resetting positions, 2 people on the left, 2 people middle, and 2 people right, you then have to repeat the process, and on the next DPS cycle, this is where the challenge mode proposes something unique for players to adapt to, is that you can't kill him too quickly. It actually restricts you a little bit from doing too much DPS to him, because if you kill him in 2 DPS cycles, that would mean that only 2 out of the 4 rooms have been used up for safety. And in order for a full qualification for challenge mode completion, you need all 4 rooms to be used up, which means you are going to have to kill him within 3 DPS cycles, not 2. But on that 3rd one, you won't be able to get to any more rooms for safety because all of them would have been used up, obviously. So you can't kill him in 2, and you can't kill him in 4. He has to be killed during the 3rd DPS cycle, and that would mean a register for challenge mode completion. Now, when the bombs drop for the DPS cycle, things can get a little bit confusing, so one of the recommendations I have for designation of players is to have, obviously, one assigned to the left and one assigned to the right, but because of the placement of the bombs and where they might appear, one of them could possibly drop in the front, and one of them could possibly drop farther back. When this is the case, you have somebody who's designated to the front and somebody who's designated to the back, and the person who is running front will either also have the direction of left or right, and the person who is back will also have this direction of left or right, meaning, say if a person is assigned left front, that would mean that they are paying attention for the bomb to either drop front or to drop to the left. If it drops to the left, then they obviously pick it up and go to the left room. If it drops in the front, then they automatically know to pick it up from the front and then head left with the bomb. Same for the right and back. As long as you have a combination of a east-west directional approach and a north-south directional approach, any combination of the 2, besides obviously having both of north-south or east-west, which would be impossible, is perfectly fine. So as long as you have a person heading one combination of directions and another person heading the other combination of directions, you should have 2 rooms covered no matter what. Unless, of course, the ultimate fucking dick move happens to occur during challenge mode, which is when 2 rooms on the same side light up. When this is the case, usually the person who has a first glimpse of the rooms and their positioning will announce to the other player, hey, there are 2 rooms lit up on my side, and it is then their job to go to the most difficult room to get to, which is usually the front room, so that the person who has to take the extra effort to turn back around and head to the opposite side from where they were originally heading can then go to the easy room, which is often the back room for most people, so that they can head in there immediately and get to safety as soon as possible before the ultimate destruction wave occurs from Vosik here, and a wipe occurs and creates problems for everybody, obviously. So that about wraps it up for the challenge mode requirements. As long as you have good callouts and good player designation for people that can handle the jobs of picking up the bombs and heading to their rooms well, all should go well and you should get the challenge mode done and complete fast and efficiently enough to move on with your life and continue with the raid. Recommended weapons for this, probably a scout rifle of some kind. That is my preferred weapon of choice, just so you can aim down the sights really well and continuously eliminate fallen that are a good distance away from you. That's what I would use. I use the wounded scout rifle whenever it's time to attempt to eliminate Vosik in any raid that I'm taking part in. Usually it is my job upon doing this to pick up the bombs and do a lot of the callouts for bomb throwings that should be simultaneous and to get to rooms. The difficulty of this challenge mode, especially when stacked up against Axis challenge mode, is entirely player dependent. It is dependent on how well your team can listen to callouts and how well they can follow directions and how well they can respond to a situation when a player is needed in a certain area or is needed to synchronize with other players upon activating a certain action or a certain part of the encounter. When they are needed at a certain position, like let's say to pick up the bombs, or to throw the bombs at a certain point, or to make up for somebody's death on a certain side, and be able to toss 2 bombs whilst simultaneously staying alive. It can range from extremely easy to extremely difficult. You want to make sure that the players you're matched up with have experience and can work well with others. That is the prime recommendation for this, is that they know how to communicate and to listen to communication from other players. As long as this is done and direction is taken well and everybody is paying attention and focusing on what's happening during the battle, then it should all work out fine and you should be able to kill him within the 3 DPS cycles that are allotted to you to do so and that are required for you to do so. As you can see here, a similar situation happened. Usually someone is assigned to kill the captains that spawn out every 2 rounds or 2 rotations within a round, but the person who was with me on my side subsequently died due to a little bit of poor timing with either him getting to the room or somebody throwing the bomb that caused an early lockout for him for the room, but I then had to pay attention to that situation and recover from it and figure out a way to kill the captain on my own, which shouldn't be too much of a problem. It can be difficult, it can require others to respond to the situation as well, but that is a perfect example of an instance where attention is needed at a recovery point for a challenge to be completed successfully. That about does it, guys. This has been Plat's Skull. This was the Vosik challenge with a little bit of tips and tricks and just a general run-through description. Subscribe if you like the content. More raid stuff coming soon and more Grimoire. Take it easy.